What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to have a look at a bunch of new super rares from EB-02. And I'm telling you right now, these new super rares from EB-02, some of them are good, and one of them's Enel. And that is blatantly where we have to start here. I'm telling you now, with absolute certainty, this new Enel is busted. Absolutely busted. We got 10 cost, 11,000 power, and if your leader is Sky Island, you gain Rush, which is quite nice. That's a nice little skill. It is the worst thing about this card. Because when you're attacking, which means potentially every turn, you may trash one card from your hand, which isn't very much. And then if you've got one or fewer cards in your life, you can put a card from the top of your deck onto your life and gain 1,000 power for the turn. But again, it's got Rush, assuming your leader is Sky Island. But let me just say, this is for Enel decks. No mucking about, no being silly. This is for Enel. And this makes Enel, I believe strongly, this single card makes Enel decks way better than they are right now. Because here's the thing about Enel decks. The entire point is you're going down to very low life. Enel only starts with 4 life, but it doesn't really matter. Because on your opponent's turn, once per turn, when your life becomes 0, you just add a card from the top of your deck to the top of your life. Which is really good, remember, because yellow's playing a bunch of trigger cards. So this means that you'll have more cards going on top of your deck and more chances to hit those triggers. Well, what this basically means is that when you've got your leader Enel, your opponent puts you down to 0, you go up to 1. It goes to your turn, hey, I've got 1 life, play Enel, attack with Enel because you've got Rush, so you're allowed, and you put a second life down, so you've got from 0 back to 2, you've got another potential trigger on top of your deck, oh yeah, and then you've got a 12k swinging. I told you EB-02 is specifically bringing in cards to help older decks. This is blatantly a card which is for OP-05 Enel, but it's absurd. You can attack the turn you play it, it's got attacking skill, so you can use this skill every single turn, and it recovers a life and then you swing with a 12k. It's absurd. And I know it only works if you've got 1 or less life, but the ideal scenario with Enel is that you use blockers and counters and things of that nature to make sure you go down to 0 life but no further. Your leader puts you back up to 1, and then this puts you back up to 2, and then your opponent has to take 2 life to put you down to 0, but then your leader puts you back up to 1, and then you use this again, and round we go. Yes, your opponent can absolutely plan around this. But while they're doing that, you're swinging and doing your thing and recovering life. This is one of the most busted cards we've seen so far. I believe that sincerely. This card is absurd. There are a bunch of other super rares for what it's worth, and we're going to talk about all them in a second as well, obviously. We kind of had to start with Enel, because Enel is absolutely broken. But we do have a new Nefeltari Vivi as well. It is blue. We got a free cost, 2,000 power, counter plus 1,000. And on play, if you have a multicolour leader and you have 5 or fewer cards in hand, draw 2. For what it's worth, this is also an absurdly good card. I adore this. It's a free cost, it has a counter, and it's not as powerful as I might like, but it's a free cost card, and it's going to draw you 2 cards. It works quite nicely in any dual type blue deck. I'm seeing people like Vampire suggesting, who's a good follow on Twitter incidentally, I'm seeing people like Vampire suggesting Marco decks, which I don't think is a terrible idea. I think this will help out Marco quite nicely. And let's face it, Marco is the quote-unquote best leader from OP-08 and hasn't done much lately, so you know what? Maybe it is Marco. Maybe that's where we are. Or maybe it's just Nefeltari Vivi from OP-04. Because, you know, you can give one of your characters Rush. It's part blue. It's Alabaster. You draw cards. I'm just saying, anytime I can get a free cost that's drawing me 2 with no downside, I mean, you've got to have 5 or fewer cards in hand, admittedly, but there's no actual downside when you draw here. You're not trashing from your hand or anything like that. I'm just saying there's a lot of potential with this card, and I'm a little bit excited. But don't worry, we've got plenty more. We've got plenty more super rares we can have a little bit of a gander at. How about we have a chat about Arlong? Maybe Arlong could be good. Well, we got free cost, 4,000 power, counter plus 1,000, and on play, if your leader is either Fishman Pirates or East Blue, either will work, you give your leader up to 1 rested Don. And then after that, you get to choose one of your opponent's 5 cost or lower characters, and they cannot rest until the end of your opponent's next turn. And that's any effect that would cause them to rest. It's blocking, it's attacking, anything that would cause a character to become rested doesn't work because the character cannot become rested. Oh, that's a little bit annoying. Yeah, it is. Free cost 4,000 power, counter plus 1,000, and you get to give a rested Don to one of your, to your leader, which, honestly, that's not bad because it kind of turns it into a pseudo 2 cost. Now, I know it's not actually a 2 cost, but come on, basically a 2 cost. And then you're also turning off one of your opponent's characters? Like, that's really good. In terms of options here, by the way, for East Blue, we got the Kuro from OP03. We've got the Arlong from OP03. And we got the Hody Jones from OP06. They are the 3 leaders that you can actually use to activate this. None of which, incidentally, have been particularly good or playable leaders up to now. None of these have really made waves on a competitive standpoint, but I'm telling you, anytime we get interesting cards like this that boost your leader while also turning off one of your opponent's characters, I'm just saying at that point we need to have another look at this and go, you know what? Maybe one of these leaders could be better than we're giving it credit for. Also, I've seen some people suggesting that Hody Jones doesn't work with this, and I understand where that's coming from. The translation that people are generally using is Fishman Pirates or East Blue, which is what it literally says on the card. If you have a look at the English Hody Jones, it says Fishman / New Fishman Pirates. But if you have a look at the Japanese scan of Hody Jones, you can see that the kanji here is Fishman Pirates. And if you have a look at the skill, the way it's written on this new Arlong card, it literally says Fishman Pirates. So that 100% does work with Hody Jones. You can see there that the 3 kanji are in fact exactly the same. Very important. And this does happen sometimes, whereby the way the traits or whatever are written on Japanese cards are slightly different to how they're written in the English card. And then we see a translation from the Japanese and it doesn't match what's written on the English. And we go, well, it doesn't work. Best thing to do is always to go and check the Japanese card. And even if you don't speak Japanese or read Japanese, you can literally just put the kanji next to each other and see if they look the same. But don't worry. We're not out of super rares yet. How about we take a look at a new Yamato, a red super rare, 6 cost, 7,000 power, no counter here. But we've got an activate main once per turn if your leader is Land of Wano or Portgas D-Ace. It's another one of these whereby it specifically works with one character because of the canon of One Piece, because of the way One Piece is, the story goes, that again, if you've read the manga, watched the anime, you'll understand why Portgas D-Ace is included here. But if your leader is Portgas D-Ace or Land of Wano, then you get to give a rested Don to your leader, and this character gains Rush for the turn. Love it. Big fan. And by the way, it's a red card that works with a leader called Ace. So we're talking specifically about the one from OP03. That is the only Portgas D-Ace leader which is red and can play this card. So again, this is really specific, obvious support for an older card. In this case, we're talking about the OP03 Portgas D-Ace. But give a rest. There's a bunch of OP03 leaders I'm talking about in this video. But basically, you get an extra 1k on your Ace, while also getting a decent character with Rush. I'm just saying that sounds like a pretty nice thing to me. 7k with Rush while boosting, and again, it's really a 5 cost because you're giving the Dante a leader, so you still pay 6, but you get one of them refunded. So let's call it a 5 cost. I'm not convinced it's going to make Ace into some magic top tier deck overnight, and for that I'm sorry, but I do think it is a nice new trick, and it can work for any Land of Wano leader as well. Do we have a Land of Wano leader in red? We got one of those? The answer may surprise you. Yeah, of course we do. It's Kozuki Oden from EB-01, so it can actually work with that one as well. A forgotten leader, although sneaky, one of the best alternate art leaders I think we've had. I always remember this card just because the alternate art is absolutely stunning. I don't think it's a particularly great card, and it's not seen any real play, and I'm not sure this is going to be the thing that breaks it, just like I said with Ace. But I'm telling you right now, this could be a lot of fun. And go on then, how about one more just before we finish here? We've got ourselves Sengoku. 7 cost, 7,000 power, counter plus 1,000, and we've got blocker, which is nice. This is a beefy blocker. But then we've got on play, you may play a 4 cost or lower Black Navy card from your trash. Cool. I like playing cards for free. I think playing cards for free is nice. This makes me happy. You do play it rested, incidentally. It literally says on the card, play it rested. It was a little bit sad, but you still get to play a card for free. That makes me pretty happy. Obviously, Black Navy leaders, we've seen a couple of those at this point, right? So we have a few options when it comes to Black Navy leaders. We've had, let's go through all of these in order nice and quickly. We had the Monkey to Garp, which we got in OP-02, the Zephyr from OP-02, the Smoker from OP-02, the Isho from OP-04, and then the Sakazuki from Started X6. Yes, I've known there's another Sakazuki, but it got banned, and I suppose they did redo it, but that was a bit rubbish. Point is, we've got a bunch of options for Black Navy leaders. All of them now have a new trick in the shape of a big, beefy 7k blocker, which can play a card for free. And this is another one that it seems like an exceptionally powerful card. I'm just putting it out there that this one seems very, very strong. Because it's a 7k... I know it's a 7 cost, right? It's expensive. I get that. But it's a 7k blocker, which on its own is pretty good. And then you add in the fact that you're playing a character for free at the same time. I think there's a lot to like about this. I could see this finding its way into a bunch of these decks. It is one that I have absolutely got my eye on. Obviously, you know I want to play it with Smoker. I've made no secret of my love for OP-02 Smoker, so I'm hoping that we get OP-02 Smoker becoming really good in the future. But either way, any Black Navy deck can make use of this. I am loving what we're seeing from OP-02 in terms of boosting older decks. Obviously, I started this video pretty clearly, telling you that Enel was the best of the new cards. I feel very strongly about that. But Nefeltari Vivi giving extra draw seems good. A blocker in Sengoku that can play extra cards for free seems good. There are lots of cards here I'm very excited about. Even Arlong looks really good. And I'm not really much of an Arlong fan. I'm just looking at this and thinking it might be nice. But I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Good us! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.